The Book of Boba Fett Season 1 has officially finished off with its season finale. Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Anthony Salick. And in this video, or should I say like audio, I'm going to be giving my review on Book of Boba Fett Season 1. I wanted to have the camera here, but my battery was dead, and I just finished watching the episode, and I completely forgot to charge it, so don't mind that. But today is February 9th, and the Book of Boba Fett Season 1 finale, In the Name of Honor, had just dropped, and we are here to discuss the season as a whole. I originally wanted to make this series a week-by-week series, but the problem was for the first episode, I wasn't here. I was off in Guatemala, and so I figured I didn't want to be late on it, so I figured I'd just do it all in one video to discuss how the season was overall. Not from a story perspective, but just how did the whole season deliver as a whole. So moving right into it. Honestly, so coming into the Book of Boba Fett, after what was said to be the best Star Wars episode, that being Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 8, it was a big sort of a big bar that was set up for the Book of Boba Fett. Obviously, we sort of had teases of what the show was going to be based off of The Mandalorian, but seeing it play out and seeing the show now with what it has given us, from start to finish, I think, so from a basic standpoint, the show is really good. Now, I say this because my favorite character is Boba Fett. I loved Boba Fett ever since even before like the sequel trilogies. I grew up with Star Wars, and Boba Fett was just always one of my favorite characters. Seeing Clone Wars, seeing Episode 2, seeing the unfinished episodes of Clone Wars, and so to see sort of his character sort of return, and not just that, but in the form of a show, that being Mandalorian Season 2, but not just that, to have his own show was a very great surprise, great comeback and whatnot. And I honestly did enjoy sort of the way that they took on his character during Mandalorian Season 2, but now for him to have his own show was also a great storyline. Now, I don't want to necessarily touch on each episode by hand because I feel like that would be very difficult, so I'm just going to go through the story as a whole. The story, when you really look at it, is essentially, it picks up right after Return of the Jedi, so Boba Fett falling into the Sarlacc. He ends up escaping the Sarlacc, he gets captured by some Tusken Raiders, he ends up becoming one with the Tuskens, and then one day, his Tusken family is killed by what seems to have been a biker gang, but then we end up finding out that it was actually the Pikes who ended up doing it. And so now we're sort of in this state where Boba Fett ends up killing Bib Fortuna at Jabba's palace, and then pretty much becomes the leader of Jabba's palace. And so this show kind of picks up with Boba trying to sort of find his ground as a leader, and also trying to get used to it because of the so many years he's been a bounty hunter. He's been a bounty hunter since, I believe, during the prequel saga. So then you have the prequels, then the 30-year gap, and then you have the original trilogy. So from him to go from a bounty hunter to a king, essentially, of Jabba's palace was a very interesting take. And I was very sort of skeptical on how they were going to do this, because I honestly thought that they should have stayed with the bounty hunter part of his character, but to see it sort of change to where he actually has character development, and being a longtime Star Wars fan and Boba Fett fan, it was always like he was always just the character who had very little lines, very little action, and needed more story expanded in the form of the prequels and the Clone Wars. So for him to finally be, this is after Return of the Jedi, this is after he survives, it was very refreshing to see a brand new take on it, because we had seen so much of Boba Fett as a bounty hunter that it was really cool to see him with a whole new, not just as a whole new, role, but as a leader, and with new characters like Fennec Shan, the Mandalorian, and whatnot. And so I really think that this show delivered a great sort of new way to handle the character of Boba Fett. And so now going into the episodes, one of the things that was obviously biggest complaint was the storyline between Boba Fett and the screen time that he shared with other characters. Because if you look at like episode 5 and 6, which were mainly episode 5. So okay, episode 1 was like Boba flashback. How did he sort of get out of the Sarlacc pit? Right. He had that with episode 2 with him training with the Tuskens. Episode 3, I'm trying to remember. Episode 3 was with him mainly in modern day, trying to understand his footing as a leader. Episode 4 was mainly the build up towards the big war that we were going to come to. Episode 5 and 6 were such a brand new take that honestly I think that a lot of people were really, really happy. And as a Boba Fett fan, I was very, very skeptical to sort of see that spotlight being switched around with Mandalorian. But I mean, it's called the Book of Boba Fett, so it's entitled. But I honestly thought I expected we were gonna see different parts of Boba's character from like as a child, after Jango ended up dying, during the 30 years between Episode 3 and 4, and sort of a little bit after he escaped the Sarlacc pit. But the story was shared obviously between Mandalorian, and then you had Episode 6, which is one of the greatest, I think, products of Star Wars ever created, in the form of, showing Luke Skywalker with Grogu. You had Ahsoka Tano in there. R2D2 was there. The introduction of Cad Bane, which I'll get into a little bit. It was honestly one of these things where it definitely needed sort of that sort of expansion. But by using Boba Fett's show, you sort of set this thing up where it wasn't necessarily a Boba show anymore. It sort of became like a Mandalorian and Friends type of thing. Or as a lot of people say, like a Mandalorian 2.5, season 2.5. And for that, I can sort of agree with what they're saying, but they're sort of also doing this thing where like the new Star Wars, right, which is like the new shows and the new storylines that they're gonna say that they're gonna show in like in the movies and TV shows are sort of all now connected. So sort of like how you had Boba Fett, Ahsoka Tano, Luke Skywalker, and during Mandalorian season 2, you have those characters also appearing in Book of Boba Fett, but also having much more screen time, which to me, I mean, it's fine if they have it. I have no problem with it. But to the general fans who are like, this is a show about Boba, and yet it didn't have Boba, I can sort of understand your point. But at the same time, you have to understand that this is very, like, we're not going to get a whole lot of Star Wars content. So it's really, really cool to see sort of these characters past Boba Fett have a little bit of screen time, even if it means the risk of Boba Fett not getting the screen time that he deserves. Now, moving on to sort of the episode that just dropped today, which was the season finale. I was very, very excited and looking forward to it. You had the cast hyping it up as well. And overall, the episode as a whole, I thought was one of the best Star Wars things that they have ever done. But I understand sort of where the criticism comes from. So some of the biggest criticism that I have seen was like the fact that it was okay. That was sort of like the biggest thing. Like everybody was like, all right, it was a good fight. It was just delivering fan service, and it just sort of helped tie everything back together, which I definitely do agree. The show did a good job with sort of tying everything back and giving the people what they wanted. We saw the Mandalorian with the darksaber. We saw Grogu and Mando reunited. We saw Boba riding the Rancor, which I really, really loved. I saw that as sort of a nod to Boba's first appearance in the holiday special, I believe. And it was really, really good. But when you consider the fact that as a whole, how did I see the finale? The finale was great. I thought, now I'm not going to get into like what did I love about the finale, because this is just a whole season review. I'm just stating what I think the season was, and to which I would say the finale did an excellent job with the characters. The action was great. I thought that everybody had sort of their moment to shine, from the characters that we already knew to the characters that were introduced in this season, like the biker gang. BK was also in it. Cad Bane, who I was a big fan of watching it from episode 6, and so to see him in here, and not just that, but to see him have his iconic duel with Boba Fett, which for all the hardcore Star Wars fans, I was very excited knowing that I saw the unfinished episode of Clone Wars. So to come into this episode, seeing Boba Fett versus Cad Bane duel was one of my favorite things. I really, really loved it. I was actually pretty happy that Cad Bane won the initial duel, but lost the whole battle, because I thought it was great sort of service to Cad Bane as a bounty hunter, but it also gave Boba Fett fans sort of like the completion of, like, we have a character who has like come full circle, right? From a guy who, you know, who was a clone, who witnessed the death of his father, to sort of growing up in a bounty hunter, and not just that, but also growing up with Cad Bane, sort of giving him lessons, to then, working for the Empire, to getting stuck in the Sarlacc, to becoming a Tusken Raider, or to become uh, um, an ally to the Tusken Raiders, and then for him to become the leader of Jabba's palace. I thought it was a really, really great journey, especially for this season and what it told. And I was very, very, like every week, whether or not it had Boba Fett, I was just happy that we had a bunch of good Star Wars. Just overall, even if it didn't have Boba, it still delivered a great episode, all in all. And for that, looking at everything as a whole with the Book of Boba Fett, although some episodes didn't have Boba Fett, I honestly have to say that the Book of Boba Fett, to me, was one of the greatest things that Star Wars has ever produced. And for that, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it beats Mandalorian Season 1, but it has a lot in store, or it has a lot for Season 2. I think it beats Season 1 of Mandalorian, but Season 2, I think, has a little bit more going than the Book of Boba Fett. I hope that the Book of Boba Fett gets more seasons, and from the looks of it, it looks like it might have. But I was very, very, very excited to just see this whole journey. Boba Fett being my favorite character before this show, and Boba Fett being my favorite character after this show. They did a great job with him. I was such a big fan the whole way through. Can't wait for Mandalorian Season 3 and the future of Star Wars, whether it be the Bad Batch, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, or a Season 2 of Boba Fett. All in all, I'm here for it. I cannot wait. I love this series. 8 out of 10. There were some moments that were a little bit dull, but I think a lot of shows have this, and so there's really not a good argument for it. But it was overall amazing. I loved it. 8 out of 10. Can't stress that enough. And with that said, I think I'm gonna bring this this episode to a close. I would also like to hopefully try to do some more Star Wars stuff, and not just that Marvel stuff. I do want to do weekly reviews, but as I stated earlier, I couldn't because of I was gone out of the country during the first couple episodes of Boba Fett. But maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll do reviews when Mandalorian Season 3 or Obi-Wan or just Marvel stuff too, like Moon Knight and stuff like that. But overall, loved it. Thought it was great. Boba Fett will always be my favorite character in Star Wars, and this show just grew my love for the character and everything Star Wars by like 100 times 100. So yeah. So with that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you guys did enjoy it, be sure to leave a like, comment what you guys think about the show. Was it good? Was it bad? Let me know in the comments down below. And my name is Anthony Salek, and I will see you all next time. Peace.